Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Zanthyst Gaming. We're here today in Diablo 3, and we're going to be playing a multi-shot build today. There are some nuances we're going to go over before we get into this, but it's a fairly straightforward path. Map is on the screen now. Will, of course, be in the video description down below as well. Let's talk about some of the nuances of this particular build. So it's a multi-shot build, but they're missing some key elements that make it a lot harder for you to do this rift. That said, if you played multi-shot before, it's not that hard. If you haven't played multi-shot before, though, I have some tips that might help you if you're struggling with it. So if you don't think you need these, you can go ahead and just skip forward to the gameplay. But you're missing major mitigation multipliers on your helm and your bracers. So you're basically made of paper. You have to dodge pretty much everything. Here are some tips that can help you with doing that. Your vault is actually a teleport, and as soon as you hit the button, your character, as far as the game is concerned, is at the end location, even if the animation goes through the damage or projectile. As long as you don't land on it, you won't take damage. So it's super, super important. You can vault through arcane cutters, through succubus balls, through arrows, anything you want, as long as your end animation doesn't end on it. So what I mean by that is I'm here. When I vault, I'm going to end up here. Anything I went through is dodged. So if there was an arrow coming at me, I can vault directly through it. If there's a succubus ball coming at me, I can vault through it, as long as I land on the other side of it. Okay. So that's really important. Another thing is your set mitigation is tied to keeping enemies at a range. It auto-refreshes every second. In addition to your mitigation, your damage is also tied to this. You have to keep enemies 10 yards away. If you don't keep them more than 10 yards away, it won't refresh. It refreshes once every second. So that's about 10 yards. You can see the buff right here. You can see it refreshing every second. If I move closer to these guys, right about here, it stops refreshing. If I move away, it's refreshing. If I'm too close, though, it stops refreshing and it ticks out. And as soon as that is gone after 8 seconds, you have no damage mitigation at all and no damage at all. That said, you shouldn't be standing within range of anything for 8 seconds. You're going to die anyway, so just don't do that. Okay. Because you're missing several major damage multipliers, there's some tips I have here that might help you if you're struggling damage-wise. Make sure you're standing in the yellow circles from the Oculus ring. It's super important. It'll give you lots more damage unless it's going to cause you to be in melee range of an enemy for more than 8 seconds. If you have to jump into an Oculus, circle and it keeps them at melee and you can blow them up really quick, that's fine. As long as you can blow them up quick, right? You have 8 seconds to get out of melee range. Damage is also tied to your discipline, which is your blue bubble here. So if you vault around too much and drain out your discipline, you do a lot less damage. Still enough to it's actually not even enough to kill those little trash guys, right? So if you do that, then you can restore your discipline with your with your evasive fire, and you can also restore it with your number 3 key, and that will give you a chunk back. For me, it's bound to E, but when you hit it, you can see it restored it. Every point of discipline that you currently have gives you 350% more damage. So it's really important to manage your discipline by peppering in your evasive fire. So it's like multi-shot, evasive fire, alternating between the two, right? Or maybe 2 multi-shots for each evasive fire. Should be fine. And that's really important. So if you're struggling damage-wise, that might be why. Your 1 and 4 keys are major damage cooldowns. I'm going to numlock my 1 key and then just use my 4 key on elites on demand. But those are your major damage cooldowns. You want to make sure you're killing the minions that come with yellow packs, as they'll give you your Bane of the Powerful proc, which increases your damage multiplicatively. You lose all damage multiplier from the set if you stand within 10 yards of enemies for more than 8 seconds. We already talked about that. You also lose instantly you lose 10% damage, 20% damage if you're within 10 yards. So you will take a hit right away for not getting your passive of steady aim. That said, it's a additive bonus, so it's not as big of a deal as your set bonuses. But regardless, you don't want to be in melee range unless you have to. Now, if you're choosing between being in melee range for your Oculus ring and being in melee range for your passive, choose the Oculus Ring because the Oculus Ring is 81% multiplicatively. So that outweighs the steady aim passive. Okay? So hopefully that helps you if you're struggling at all. I know it was kind of long and rambly, but I can see some people having trouble with this rift, so I thought I would go into a little bit of detail with it. That said, let's go ahead and get on into the rift. I'm going to pull up my map on my side window. I don't think I should really need it, but I'm going to do it anyway. And then I'm going to numlock my vengeance key, and let's do this. So again, you're made of paper. You want to dodge pretty much all projectiles. I'm gonna probably need to talk a little less than I usually do to make sure I dodge all projectiles. And like I said before, you need to make sure you are also killing all the little yellow guys that, or all the little guys that come with the yellow elites. You can just sidestep the slow-moving succubus balls, or like I said, teleport through them with your balls. Either way is perfectly fine. Globes are a good source of health as well. Oops, that was scary. Here's a situation where I'm going to die because I stood in a mortar, and I'm an idiot. Luckily, it doesn't really matter. Time is such that it's not that big of a deal. We do lose our vengeance multiplier, which is a bit of a bummer. Will slow us down. Our time will not be as good as it could have been. But, I mean, I was just showing you guys that. That was for your benefit, obviously. You can see how paper I am. Like, clearly that was on purpose. So you can see how paper this guy is. Yeah. See? I turned into a mobster all of a sudden for some reason. I'm not sure why. Alright, anyway. Alright, I'm gonna pop my wolf howl here so I can blow these guys up. Obviously, don't stand in the explosions. You'll die. Even more so with this build than any other build. Again, don't stand in the fire chains. You'll die. Just basically, you gotta kill everything at range. You can kill things off screen with this build if you know where the things are be coming from, right? So it shouldn't be too hard as long as you don't herp derp like I just did there. The timer is very forgiving. Whoever did this clear originally must have really been struggling with the survivability element. You can definitely tell that this build was a work in progress. He doesn't have his gems fully upgraded, right? He only has 2 legendary gems. He doesn't have his helm gem fully upgraded. This pulls a little bit rough sometimes. Again, you can teleport through the explosive blast there, as long as your end location is on the other side of it, right? There's some kind of sketchy things here and at the beginning of the next floor, just because of the tight corridors, and the next floor has grotesques, which is just nasty as hell. So you can see, even with me dying and messing up really badly, we still have enough leeway on the time. I vaulted through stuff so I could fire backwards and not have to worry about the grotesque explosions there was my idea. You have enough time that you're perfectly fine. If you die once or twice, it's not the end of the world, but you probably don't want to die more than twice, because then you might start running into issues. But yeah, the timer is pretty forgiving. So we got that going for us at least, yeah? I want to go this way, yeah. I had to look at the map there for a second. Again, make sure you kill the little guys that come with. Those guys are Lakuni stalkers, which means they can actually really hurt. So be careful with them, but you do want to kill them for the buff for the Rift Guardian. Because if that drops, you lose 30% multiplicative damage, which is a pretty big deal when you already don't have as much damage as you should with this build, right? There's explosions everywhere. It's bad times. Alright, Rift Guardian is alive. I was about to go push into another elite, but insta one-shot by the Rift Guardian. This is actually going to be a little bit of a pain in the butt. Let's see what we can do here. Standing up on the stairs so I can kind of line of sight it a little bit. That way he can't just charge me. He's going to kite around the stairs. That made it easier. Okay, so died twice. Obviously not going to have a great time, but hopefully those tips from the beginning helped you. I'll throw them back up on the screen here. Make sure you like, favorite, share, subscribe. Comment down below if you're struggling or if you have additional tips that I didn't talk about here. Forgive my formatting. I only slept 3 hours, and then I had to drive for like 3 hours after work to do a friend a favor. So kind of scramble-brained, but hopefully it helped either way. Like, favorite, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye, YouTube. Bye, Reddit.